The information shared on LightBody Radio is for educational and informational purposes only. The content of this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician, licensed healthcare provider, or qualified wellness practitioner with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or health goal. Dr. Lara May, her guests, and affiliates do not claim to cure, prevent, or treat any condition and are not responsible for any actions taken based on the information shared in this podcast. By listening to this podcast, you acknowledge that you are responsible for your own health decisions and that any actions you take based on the content are at your own discretion and risk. Thank you for tuning in to LightBody Radio.
Welcome to LightBody Radio, where science meets soul and healing gets multidimensional. I am your host, Dr. Lara May, functional medicine pharmacist, master intuitive Reiki channel, and certified life and health coach. Here we decode root causes, transmute stuck energy, and empower your full spectrum healing journey, body, mind, and light body. This isn't just wellness, it's awakening, grounded in science, guided by spirit, and designed for your evolution. Let's rise and radiate. Welcome to the next level of you. Hello and welcome to LightBody Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Lara May, and today we have with us Dr. Eleanor Haspel-Portner. She passionately synthesizes areas of esoteric wisdom and scientific discovery. She has published numerous best-selling books and helps thousands of individuals, couples, and groups synthesize their life experiences into practical ways to live healthy, prosperous, and creative lives. In her work, The Noble Energy Map, she shows you how to manifest your highest potential to live a life that you love. And each week, she and her husband, Dr. Marvin, host a free webinar on how to manifest your dream life. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here with you.
Well, we are very happy that you're here. Tell us a little bit about your journey, your story, how you came to sort of uncover this energy map that we'll go more into later in the show.
Well, let me start with my education. I got my PhD from University of Chicago, and I didn't know it at the time. But I didn't know at the time that I wanted a program that would be a synthesis of psychology and more esoteric things, because I was psychic as a child and I wanted a PhD so I'd be credible. So I went into a department there that was sociology, anthropology, biology, and psychology. And my major was psych and a minor in anthropology. And so without realizing it, I was studying the four worlds of consciousness. And so I became a clinician. I took training as a Jungian analyst, became a sex therapist to help relationships, and then studied parent effectiveness training to figure out what to do with my kids when they had a tantrum. And as I was working as a clinician for more than 50 years, I realized that every patient who ever came to me came because nobody listened to their soul. And it was the soul that was hurting. And along the way, I studied astrology extensively because I had an astrology reading in 1973 that changed my life. And the astrologer, Catherine de Jersey, became my astrology mentor. But she had secrets for her accuracy, and I wanted to learn what they were. And one day she's standing in my kitchen, and I was so excited. And I said, Katie, when are you going to share your secrets in another book? And she looked at me and she said, dear, don't push me. I went, have you ever had that experience? You're so excited about something and somebody goes, psh, and you go down. So I looked at her and I said, okay, Katie, I'm going to study astrology to learn what to ask you. That's what I did. So fast forward 1996, I was reading through the astrology magazine and I saw a picture of a mandala. As a Jungian analyst, I understood the image. At the center was the tree of life with chakras. Around the wheel was astrology. And then we had the I Ching, which I had also studied. And I had studied the Kabbalah for 20 years. So I recognized what this was. And so I immediately called and I studied privately. And then I met Ra Uruhu, who was the messenger who brought it. And he asked my husband and myself in 1999 to validate it scientifically.
Oh, cool.
Marvin's an MD. He said yes. I looked at him and I said, it's a big job. He said, let's do it. So we did it. And it fell on me as the social scientist to do all the science. So 30,000 matched sample, astrologically, 30,000 plus cases. I found that the human design system is an incomplete and faulty system. And unfortunately, the science was not put out there visibly enough. Ra wanted me to fudge data. I refused. I broke with him in 2003. I kept teaching a 4-world, multidimensional system that is accurate not only on the 30,000, but also on the 15,000 clinical cases that I used. So what I call the 4 worlds noble energy maps is an actually accurate system. And 99% of the population at 3 months of age are designed to fully manifest their potential. We are all divine beings living in a body, and the tree of life gives us the map for all of the issues we need to clear along that path of self-actualization, consciousness. So I expanded the maps, I started reading them, and they break into the 4 worlds. And interestingly enough, and it's in the Science of Human Design book that I wrote with Ra. I guess I didn't write it with Ra. I did the research. He was there with the research. I don't know if I put his name on the book or not, but it's all the science that I did, using the statistical package for the social sciences, for the statistical people out there. Right. And what I found was 4 factors that correlate with the 4 worlds. So we have the emotional angelic world, which is creative intelligence. In the tree of life, the other factor between the solar plexus and the heart center is emotional reactivity. And that must be transformed using intuition through the factor of the splenic center, the sacral center, the root center is a factor. And then the root to the sacral, to the self, to the throat is the other factor. And that shows us the satsuma of esoteric knowledge. The channel through the spine, through which energy moves up like a serpent. And the healing caduceus shows us that. So the noble energy maps is a map of how somebody was impacted by cosmic energy in the first 3 months of their life, and how that predisposes them to be sensitive to certain patterns of energy. Many people are very empathic. They pick up in their body either intuitively what somebody is feeling or thinking, or, however they receive the information, it's intuitive. And a lot of times in Western culture, we don't honor that.
No.
We keep it to ourselves. Part of my mission is to get that out, because that's where people want to live. And that's how communication on the soul level is very different than mental world communication. Right now in the podcast, I'm talking on a mental waking world level. I'm talking in a language the listeners understand or can have translated. I'm speaking in a way you can think about something. Some of you are going to say, oh, that doesn't make sense to me. Others of you are going to say, wow, I've been looking for that. Somebody hears something. So the mental waking world is a very diffuse, diverse world. When we get into the physical, biological world, that's our self-care. That's our physical body. The lie detector test that's used is the galvanic skin response. It's the responses on a subliminal level that the autonomic sympathetic nervous system is registering. And usually people are not conscious of those subtle physical signals, but those subtle physical signals are what causes emotional reactivity. Because solar plexus, as described in the Tree of Life and the patterns of orientation in the Tree of Life, the paths of intelligence, in noble energy maps, I call patterns of orientation. Okay. What you see in the solar plexus is that we get emotional because we're triggered physically by something that doesn't ring true, or something that somebody tells us to do that we don't want to do, or somebody does something that annoys us. Those reactions, according to the 27th path of intelligence in the Tree of Life, is the cross of Christ. And it says, in order to go from emotional reactions to intuition and love, you must transform into the other. You must spiritually recognize that we're all human in a body and we're not perfect. We're here to learn and grow. So have compassion and love for yourself and for others. And instead of being reactive, run it through your intuition, run it through your soul, and ask God, what is so important that you would put this challenge in front of me? It strikes me, I just asked that question, and I haven't heard myself ask that question, but I'm working really hard on my offerings for the year and what I'm going to be teaching and selling as programs. And it's really interesting that that question just said to me, okay, when I say, God, what's so important that this challenge of marketing, which I don't know how to do, would be in front of me, to get this information out to the world. And so, I have to meet the challenge. And so I'm teaching the 4 worlds and teaching people how to read the noble energy maps.
That is, I think it's going to be so impactful. It's really, just the way you explained it. And why, I'm curious, why the first 3 months of life? I think most of us are taught it's just about the day that we're born.
It's not, because, let me share my process.
Yes, please.
Because when I got the noble energy maps, I didn't know what I was even looking for, except I knew from the data that the voice told Ra that when we sleep as humans, we move into a different matrix, a 15-gate matrix that's spiritual. But that's REM sleep, because remember, I'm a psychologist, so I know about the layers of sleep and dreams. And I have cats and dogs, and they dream and when they sleep, because you see the rapid eye movement.
Right.
So I knew there was a missing chart, and I was looking for it. And I was an astrologer, so I went and coded it. And when I got the 4 charts for the 4 worlds I did prenatal and postnatal, because that's what astrologers do.
Okay.
They look back 3 months and they look forward 3 months, because they think that the moon is the timer of the chart. And the 3 months before you were born and 3 months after you were born shows a lot about how things are going to time in your lifetime. So I used that, and I laid the charts out on my desk, and I went, holy shit, this explains it. Because it explained to me why I wasn't a manifester. And I waited and waited and waited. It explained my children to me. And I had been doing enough research on the science to learn that the pediatric literature was describing the first 3 months of life as the missing 4th trimester. Because the gastrointestinal system in a baby and the cortex are not fully functional until 3 months of age. That's why at 3 months of age, if a baby is not smiling and a baby is not reaching for an object, we think there's a problem. So when you look at the astrology, it times perfectly. And it shows, in fact, and here's a little gem for the listeners, manifestation scientifically takes 3 months. So from the time you think about what you want to manifest, you have 3 months to get it right. And you'll be getting little tweaks along the way. The first tweak will come about 2 days after you think it. And it'll be a questioning. Can I really do this? It's the emotional angelic world. Do I want to do this? Is it congruent with my highest purpose? Then a week later, spirit comes in. How it designs in you in particular will determine its impact. But after about a week, if it still feels right, you can pretty much say, okay, I want to try this out. But then over that 3 month period, you're going to get little tweaks, a frustration. And you think, okay, am I thinking about this wrong? What do I need to adjust? So for all the listeners, I can prove in your charts scientifically that it takes 3 months to manifest. Give yourself 3 months to play with what you want to manifest. And don't consider that it's like getting dressed. You put on one piece of clothing and you're not done. And then you decide what to do next. And then you decide what to do next. And then you look in the mirror and you may say, wait a minute, I don't like the way this belt looks, or I don't like the way the hat looks, or I don't like, and you tweak it. When I put my earrings on this morning, I tried them both ways because I couldn't decide which pair to wear. And so I thought, okay, if I wear both, they're the same color. They pick up the color in my dress. Haven't you done that? You try it out.
Yeah.
So see, the manifestation process is the same thing. We're trying it out. We're playing. And then we decide.
I like that. What if there is something that someone is trying to quote unquote manifest for themselves, but it just seems to not come to fruition, like over and over and over? Is that, what can that tell the person? Is it the wrong path? Is it?
Well, it depends.
I mean, I know that's super vague, but.
Well, I would say, I would ask some clean questions. What do you know about this project now? If you did X, what difference would it make? You fill in the X. When you know what you know about your project, that's like what? So questions to take you inside. In fact, today is a lunar eclipse. It's very strong. It's very, we have a lot of planets now in Aquarius. And this, I did a YouTube video on this eclipse. So for any of the listeners, you can go to Noble Energy Wellness YouTube channel and look for the video on February 17th eclipse, because it was emotionally a reactive time. Mm-hmm. And I said, the astrology doesn't show that it's an emotionally triggering time. What the astrology shows is there's a lot of push to express yourself, to get what you know out there, and to talk about it. Not everybody wants to hear. Mm-hmm. So if somebody isn't open, don't take it personally. People are reactive. Don't let the other person's reaction contaminate you. Mm-hmm. There's an alignment of planets on the 28th of February. That's biblical, again. And it's in a straight line. I'm in Mount Pleasant. It'll be visible between 6:15 and 6:45. Okay. So I did a sheet, which I will do a YouTube for, and offer this sheet, which is a sheet on the February 28th, with, based on my Noble Energy maps, with questions in each world, and each world prenatally and postnatally that would be thought-provoking, so that anyone who uses it could do some inner work to be aligned during this very important cosmic shift.
Yeah, I love that. That's so helpful. Thank you. I think I love this concept too, about not just using it as, because I think historically people have used astrology pretty superficially, you know, like as a predictive model, or, you know, maybe to uncover patterns, or to uncover some sort of like, why does this karmic thing, or it seems to be karmic, keep happening? Mm-hmm. But I love that taking it to that deeper level of actually asking the questions and doing the inner work, because like you said, I think it's that self-awareness that really sort of brings us to the next level in these human lives that we're in now. Exactly. And I'm a believer in reincarnation. And so I think that also helps take us forward into our next life, and, or if people out there are quantum jumpers, then maybe even quantum jump into a parallel life of, you know, their greatest desire, what we talked about in your bio, that, you know, right, ideal creative aspect of our lives.
The interesting that you mentioned reincarnation, because in the tree of life, the first path of intelligence is the 32nd path. It goes from the sacral center, which is the gut, to the root, and it breaks into 4 worlds. Now, in the Noble Energy maps and the human design chart, it goes from the root up to the splenic center through 3 channels. So there's 3 different worlds 4 different worlds represented, but 2 of the channels, the 5818 is the channel of judgment. And it basically says you're incarnating. Its name is the path of perpetual intelligence. And it says you are reincarnated to be aligned and to know alignment. And you have the intuitive judgment to align yourself with what aligns with you in this incarnation. The second path of those, so that's the emotional angelic world. The second path is in the spiritual archetypal world. And it says, this is good for me instinctively, this is not good for me. So if you feel anxiety when you begin to contemplate doing something, maybe rethink it. Maybe look at what you're anxious about. Maybe it's not exactly aligned for you. The third channel is a combination of the emotional angelic world and the physical biological world. Now, the physical biological world is the only world, along with the physical, that has the solar plexus. So it's interesting that there's a bridge there in the body map between the emotional angelic, which is compassion and love, and the physical biological, which is emotional reactivity. And so when you set your goals through that channel, you want them to align with what you can physically achieve. And you also want them to be energetically aligned with your spirit. And then you can be of service. And then you can begin to move through the other paths to higher your awareness.
So I imagine, because we are talking so much about, and this is like what we do on this show, and I love it. So again, merging the physical with the energetic. And so I imagine that there's a somatic piece to this. We really need to have a tuning in process with our bodies, connecting with source, with spirit, with our higher selves. And really, when we ask the questions, tune into where we feel it, or maybe where we get those little intuitive yeses or nos, whether it's the claircognizance or maybe we actually feel it in our body sometimes, what are those practices that you teach or suggest?
In my membership, which is only $15 a month, starting March. So if people want to join, it's still $7 as a charter member. But my husband and I do a webinar every Thursday at noon for an hour. And at the beginning and end, I do what I call an attunement. And all of those attunements are on my YouTube channel. And so they're meditations to take people internal and to self-reflect. And sometimes I talk about the 4 worlds, and I never know what I'm going to do. I go with the energy of the group. But I've been a transcendental meditator since 1974. And I do it every day. What I found is people who do meditate, especially with TM, keep doing it. So I would recommend to all the listeners, find a meditation practice that is aligned with you and start your day in meditation. Align your spiritual self. I break up the body map into 2 parts, like I call it the axes of awareness. One is the body instinct mind, and the other is the body feeling mind. So instead of going with what you feel, go with what you know. Knowing because you know it. I say, when you know what you know, and nobody can tell you don't know, you're not stubborn, You're not selfish. You are aligned. Do not compromise it. Some of you didn't need to compromise as a child. I know that when I was growing up, there were a lot of people. I'm the youngest of 5, and it was a very busy household. And I had very different views politically and spiritually than many of the people in my environment. If you felt that way, you probably felt alone and not heard. And some of you opted to close that part of yourself off because you believed you never could be heard. I want to tell you that's a mistake. You need to be heard. And there are those of us like Lara and like myself who are willing to listen, who are here to say to people who haven't been listened to, there's another way. And you deserve to be listened to. Mm-hmm. And you deserve, from my research and my clinical practice, I can tell you it's never too late. And everyone deserves to have their soul listened to. Everyone.
I definitely concur. And I think part of that too, I'll just add on a little bit to the end of that because that was so beautiful, is also too that I think you and I do in very different ways, but we both do this, is we create that safe, open space for people to explore, because I think you hit the nail right on the head when we are young. If we are, and so many of us, and I think this is probably a little soul contractual too, where we choose to incarnate into an environment that will be challenging for us for a very specific reason, like you said, that's probably laid out in the chart. But because we don't have the tools as such tiny little humans, we shut down, we check out, we go inward, maybe we just stop talking, all the different things. And so
think about this. It's called the terrible twos. Maybe we should change that to the magnificent twos. At 2 years old, a baby wants to be heard.
Yeah.
How many of us as parents have listened? I know I did with my children.
Yeah.
And with my grandson, and I tell this story a lot, he was a preemie. And I didn't know what to expect. And one day he's just laying there, and I'm starting to worry, is there something wrong with him? And suddenly I turned and I said to him, "Oh, you're seeing energy." And he looked directly at me and smiled. And I said to my daughter, "Don't condition out his psychic ability."
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah,
so I think people need that safe space, that space to explore and to figure out, okay, what is the right meditation practice for me? What does that look like? What will it even look like for me to explore my life path? I've never even given myself to think that I've been so conditioned to follow societal rules that I don't even know, am I on it? Am I not? What does it feel like when I am and when I'm not, all those things. So,
well, a clean question would be, given the state of consciousness you generally are in, what do you know about that state of consciousness? And if you were in a different state of consciousness, what difference would it make? Those are 2 clean questions. So clean questions take you inside deep. No external language.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, it's not a figmentation of our imagination that things are moving faster, that things are, I feel like, in the world, chaotic on multiple levels, whether we talk about it politically or, just in general, all over the world. So with all of this rapid change and the chaos, how do you help people, or how do you suggest people, sort of adapt or deal or cope or move through this time without really losing ourselves, I guess is the question.
If an individual feels emotionally reactive, I would recommend, as a simple solution, TM, because it's affordable. They have a sliding scale, and it's proven, and it's scientific, and I know it works. Clean language is very important, and consider balancing the four worlds for yourself. Make sure you have a program of self-care. You take time to go inward and really know who you are that day. Set some real goals for yourself in the mental waking world. And on the emotional angelic world, I think it's important to really assess the people in your life and whether they're supportive or not supportive, and to find ways of, without being reactive, communicating your needs and your desires. And if you need coaching, then coaching can help, therapy can help. The first order of business is always self-reflection and self-balance.
Right. Yeah. Totally agree. What am I bringing to the table? What am I contributing? How am I showing up in the world? What can I do to make it even just a little bit better every day? And a lot of times that's just with our presence. Like, you don't have to do anything except show up centered and grounded and not frazzled, maybe.
Well, you also have to be doing what you love doing. And so many people are stuck in a job that they hate and getting up and doing something that they don't like all day. If that's you, consider other options. And even if it's not tomorrow that you could change, maybe with some clear goals and some good guidance down the road, you can have a more optimistic future than doing something you don't love all day long.
In as little as 3 months.
In as little as 3 months.
Yes. True. I mean, look for a mentor, look for, someone that's doing what you are interested in, and start asking them questions. There's so many different things, but yeah.
On my website, Noble Energy Wellness, there is a 4-world assessment that is free for anyone who takes it. And then they can schedule a short session with me and I go over it.
Oh, cool.
So if any of the listeners are struggling, that's a good way to find out where you're shortchanging yourself and where you may need to pay a little bit more attention to get into balance.
I love that. Well, thank you. And we'll definitely. So one more question from me before we start wrapping up. What is the one shift in awareness that can produce the biggest change in someone's life?
The statement I already made. Okay. When you know what you know, and no one can tell you you don't know, you are not stubborn, you're not selfish, you're not pig-headed, or any of the other labels you've been labeled. You are in inner alignment. Do not compromise your inner alignment. Do not compromise your spiritual values. That is what keeps you healthy. That's what keeps you able to be in compassion and love. Because if you give to yourself what is loving for yourself, you have abundance to give other people.
Beautiful. Yes. Following that inner compass and trusting it.
Trusting it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And standing up to people who don't trust it.
Yes. And that can probably be the hardest thing, especially societally, familially, culturally. So yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much. You've mentioned it a little bit before, but let's take this time to really hone in on your website, your offerings, where people can find you on the socials, all those good things.
My website is nobleenergywellness.com. It's also my handle on social media. You can also look for Dr. Eleanor, Dr. I think I have an X account. I'm on all the social media platforms. I'm also a Reiki master and teach Reiki, and my husband and I do a healing circle the last Friday of every month on Reiki. So people can come get a Reiki treatment inexpensively.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
You go to my website, you can either book a call with me or take the assessment or sign up for the membership, which is till the end of February, $7 a month charter member for a webinar every Thursday at noon.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. This has been really helpful. I am definitely intrigued, so you'll probably see my name coming across your email sometime soon. So I would definitely encourage anyone out there that if you're feeling lost or even if you're just curious, you don't have to necessarily be struggling, but if you are struggling, then please reach out. These are some great resources that are either free or very low cost, a very low barrier to entry. And it sounds like they definitely provide, again, that safe, open space for you to start exploring and finding your energetic and spiritual home for yourself. So, which is so important. So thank you so much, Dr. Eleanor. I really
thank you, Lara May.
Yeah, thank you. All right, everybody. Well, we'll wrap it up for today, and we will definitely go over to nobleenergywellness.com. If you're driving and you can't write it down, no worries, or click the links. The links will be drlaramay.com/podcast. That's where our show notes live. So you can find all of the links there. So again, thank you.
And thank you.
Yeah,
it's been a pleasure.
Yes, great pleasure. We'll catch you in the next episode, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for joining me on LightBody Radio, where functional medicine meets intuitive healing and transformation happens on every level. If this episode resonated with you, please like, share, and if you're ready to go deeper, visit drlaramay.com to book a functional medicine consultation or an intuitive healing session. Whether you need to rebalance your body, clear your energetic blocks, or reconnect with your soul's purpose, I've got you. You can also follow me on Instagram or TikTok at Dr. Lara May for daily inspiration, energy updates, and healing tools. Remember, your healing is multidimensional, and so are you. Until next time, honor your body, trust your intuition, and activate your light.